cuddle. I was like, what? Who is this guy? Mind you, I've never met him before. I wanted to boo-hoo cry for these people though. So I don't care. Are you supposed to be the one to tell me what to eat? Hi guys, welcome to my channel. It's your girl Flo Babes, and I'm actually here to talk about the ultimate Southeast Asia itinerary, because when I tell you, I have the itinerary that you can use down to perfection. Okay, I'll take you guys along everything I did when I got there and how like my thought process went along the way. So I actually have it in my phone, so I'll just probably be looking down as I'm talking. How are you guys? I hope you guys are okay. If you're okay, let me know in the comment section. If you're not okay, let me know why. Like, what's going on? Is this something I can help with? Because a problem shared is a problem half solved. She gets. As I said earlier, I went to Asia in January to celebrate my 24th birthday. I actually went solo, and I went to 7 countries in 3 weeks. And I was booking the flights and planning this trip. I didn't even think it was that crazy until I got back to the States, and I realized like, oh my god, that's insane that I did that all by myself. I had no help. I planned the whole trip by myself with no travel planner at all. What I did was basically called Banana Pancake Trail, which is basically like backpacking through Southeast Asia. And I would say at least 3 months is a good time frame for you to go explore most of Asia and go to different countries. But I was kind of short on time, and I wanted to get a lot of countries in within a short amount of time, so that's why I did it in 3 weeks. But honestly, I'd recommend going at least 3 months if you have a chance to. But honestly, this whole trip started out because I wanted to go to Bali. Bali, Indonesia has been my dream country for as long as I could remember. Like, I remember being in college just telling my friends, like, when I go to this Bali end, you won't believe, like, I have always wanted to go to Bali. So my ultimate plan was to celebrate my 24th birthday in Bali. I wanted to wake up in my villa being 24 and fine. Okay, so I was planning the trip. I was like, oh, $2,000 to go to Bali and go to one country and come back home when I can spend just a little bit more and, you know, see many other countries in Asia. Why not? I went ahead and started exploring other countries. I wanted to go to countries that weren't usually on my For You page, but countries that most black people actually don't go to like that, because I wanted to see for myself, like, what do they have to offer. I did more digging, and I saw on the map that countries like Vietnam and Thailand and Malaysia, they were all in the same vicinity. So I was like, why not? Like, why not I just book all these flights before even coming to Asia, just so that I can know that everything's in order and everything's organized. I ended up booking a round trip ticket from Houston to Bali and Bali back to Houston. If I could go back in time, I wish that I actually booked a one-way ticket to go to Bali and then another one-way ticket back from my last country, just because when I ended up going back to Bali, they charged me another fee just to enter the airport though. I wasn't even going back into the main country. I was just coming into the airport to get onto my flight and then come back home. So if I were you and you want to spare that extra change, just go ahead and book the one-way flights, because at the end of the day, when you calculate the whole thing, it all adds up to the same thing. I'm not gonna lie. I started off my journey in Dubai actually, because Dubai was gonna be a 14-hour layover. I saw on TikTok that if you have a long layover, that they'll actually go ahead and give you a free accommodation as long as it's over 9 hours. I was so excited, I went ahead and booked it. I even had a layover for 18 hours in Singapore as well, so I figured that's 2 accommodations that I don't have to worry about. Why did I get to the airport and find out that you actually have to call latest 24 hours before the flight to reserve your spot for an accommodation? Nobody told me that. So I was just really upset. I had to actually pay for the hotel in Dubai by myself, which was so annoying, but hey, I was in Dubai. For Dubai, I actually planned to go to this place called Oppa Dubai. Basically, a place where you smash plates and you eat Greek food. I tried to make the reservation. They said that you can only book it for 2 people. Which is so annoying, because as a solo traveler, that means I can't take part in it. So I had to cancel that idea, and I decided to just go ahead and wing it for Dubai, because honestly that really like threw me off. I went ahead and looked for this restaurant called Enish. I had it when I went in London. It was pretty good, so I decided to try it in Dubai. I was kind of disappointed. I feel like I expected more. I don't know if it's because I went to a new branch that they had in Dubai, but I really didn't like it like that. And also, this guy that was married was also hitting on me, so it just made me really uncomfortable. The whole place just made me uncomfortable. After that, I decided to just go look around. I saw the Burj Khalifa. It's actually really beautiful in person and tall. I went at night because my layover was at night, but when I do get to go to Dubai again, I plan to go see it again in the daytime. Dubai has a lot to offer. Honestly, I love Dubai. Even though I only spent 14 hours there, I would definitely go back there again, and I hope to go back there with my family so that we can all see it together. Next up, I went to Singapore. Singapore, I had no plans at all. And in January, we're getting ready for their Chinese New Year, which was in February. So a lot of people booked out a lot of their rooms and their hotels in Singapore. Remember, when I started planning this trip, I thought I was gonna get free accommodation for Dubai and Singapore. So I didn't plan on any accommodation or anything. When I got to Singapore and I realized that they're not gonna pay for my accommodation, I started looking for accommodation. I couldn't find because people booked out the room for Chinese New Year. Finally, I stumbled on this one room, and it was their last room left. Why did I spend $134.01 for one room or for one night? I was gonna be in this room for less than 12 hours. I needed somewhere to lay my head because I really didn't even sleep in Dubai. I didn't even have time to sleep. Honestly, for Singapore, you can see the whole Singapore in one day. You don't even need to spend more than 2 days in Singapore because I'm not gonna lie, there's not much to do. After you see the Marina Bay and you see the Gardens by Bay, there's not much to see. And the Singapore River, like, there's not much to see and do there. For me, 18 hours that I spent there was enough for me. I slept, I felt refreshed there. There wasn't much to do, but the food was actually really good. From Singapore, I went over to Bali, and honestly, like I said, this was my dream country. I was so just thinking about Bali, my heart lights up. I'm not gonna lie, like the joy that I get when I think about Bali. And do you know what it means for your dream country to live up? Excuse me. Do you know what it means for your dream country to exceed your expectations? Do you know what it means? It's insane. It's crazy because I did not think Bali was gonna be that amazing. I did tons of activities, from whitewater rafting. I even wanted to go camel riding, but I couldn't even go camel riding because I came solo, and that type of activity requires at least 2 people. I was really sad about it because I've never ridden a camel before. Hopefully I can ride a camel next year or so, I don't know. I also fed and bathed elephants. So I went to the Gate of Heaven, I went to the Bali Swing, I did ATV riding. I did a lot of activities in Bali. I highly recommend you do as much activities as you can do and as you can afford because there's too much to do in Bali. You can even go to the Panetta Island and see it for a day or even sleep there. There's a lot to do in Bali. So for my trip, I decided to spend half of my time in Seminyak, which is the central area where you'll see a lot of tourists and people from Australia. Guys, there's a lot of people from Australia that come to Bali. You'd be surprised. I decided to spend half of my time there, and then I moved over to Ubud, which is a quieter side. I wanted to stay in an Airbnb there just because I wanted to experience Balinese living. There's a way that they set up their homes to where they have like a temple inside their home. It's very, very beautiful. It's very clean. People are very neat. Their houses are aesthetically pleasing for no reason. They don't even be expecting guests or nothing. They just like it in a certain way. I also highlighted all these countries on my Instagram, so you should go ahead and check out my Instagram and see like each highlight that I've made for each country that I went to. But Bali was definitely top 2 and not 2. Okay, another reason why my heart lights up when I think about Bali is because I found that I have a cousin. Can you imagine that? I have a cousin living in Bali. What are the odds that you see your Nigerian cousin living in Bali? Like, I was just like, what are you doing there? I'll tell you guys the story of how I found out I have a cousin living there. So before I went to Bali, I actually joined this Black in Bali group chat because I wanted to know what was going on. Like I said, I was going there solo for my birthday. I didn't want to be alone on my birthday, even though I was traveling there alone. Day of my birthday, this guy was hosting a party at one of the clubs in Bali. So I reached out and asked if I could ride with him to go to the club. And he was like, yeah, sure, you can ride with me. I was like, what do you mean, sure, I can ride? What's up with, he was doing this through text. So me, I'm just like, what does this guy mean by this? So he was like, oh, like, what am I doing for my birthday? I told him that I'm going back to my hotel room to sleep before the party happens. He was like, oh, don't I want to cuddle? Cuddle. I was like, what? Who is this guy? Mind you, I've never met him before. I now decided to call him. I don't know what made me call him, but I was like, let me see if this guy is actually what he's talking about. You know what I mean? You know how sometimes some guys, the way they text is not the way they talk. So I was like, okay, let me just FaceTime him. I was feeling bold. I don't know why. I can't even explain why. So I FaceTime him, he doesn't answer me. So I get back to my villa and he calls me back. And I'm like, yeah, so what were you saying on the phone? He was like, oh, that he just picked me up and take me to the party that he's hosting that night. I don't know what I said. I said something with a Nigerian accent. He was like, oh, are you Nigerian? I was like, yeah, I'm Nigerian. He was like, oh my God, that he has a Nigerian friend. And I was like, oh, okay, like, who's the Nigerian friend? Honestly, I didn't go to Asia for any romantic interest or nothing like that. I went to Asia to find myself because I've been lost for a long time. I've not known who I am for a long time. So I went to Asia really to find myself. So when he said that he wants to introduce me to a Nigerian guy, I wasn't even thinking anything of it. I was just like, oh, great, like, who's the guy? He's like, okay, I'm gonna add him to this call. So he adds him to the WhatsApp video call that we're having. The guy that turns out to be my cousin is talking to me, and he's like, oh, what's your name? I tell him my name. He's like, where are you from? I tell him my village. He's like, whoa, is your mom so? He calls my mom's name Mo. Is your uncle so? I'm like, huh? How do you know my uncle? How do you know my mom? So he's like, oh my God, you're my sister. And then that's when we realized we're from the same village and everything. Like, he knows my mom, he knows my uncle, he knows all my relatives from A to Z. After that, he takes me to the club. He starts taking me everywhere around Bali, introducing me to people, taking me to places. And actually, funny enough, funny story, fun fact, it's actually through him that my mom found out I was going to 7 countries, because I did not tell my parents that I was going to 7 countries within those 3 weeks that I was gone. I'm just gonna give you a short rundown of how everything happened. But after I found out that we were from the same village, to confirm with my mom that we're from the same village, so I called my mom. She's like, oh my God, how did you see him? And then I was like, oh, like, he's actually here in the country that I came to. I told my parents I was only going to Dubai, so they had no idea I was gallivanting around the whole Asia. But she was like, wait, what? Like, whenever he comes to pick you up, like, let me know so I can talk to him. So he comes into my villa, and then my mom's on the phone with him, and she's like, oh, I didn't know you live in Dubai. And he was like, Dubai? She was like, yeah, like, my daughter says she's going to Dubai for her birthday. He was like, no, I'm in Bali, yo. This is Bali. We're in Indonesia. She's like, oh my God, you're in Indonesia? So then that's when she found out I was in Indonesia. And then at this point, I had no choice but to fess up and say, okay, I'm going to 7 countries. Here's where I'm going to. Because I don't like when I tell people that I'm about to do something and they start putting fear into it. That's the main reason why I didn't want to say anything. I just didn't want my parents to be like, oh, you know, Asia has this. You know, they do this. You know, they do that. You know, Nigerian parents now. I just didn't want that. So yeah, I like Bali because of all the activities I did. I found out I had a relative there. Has my heart forever. The rest of the trip was more so me just exploring and seeing what other countries had to offer. Next up, I went to Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't even know what to do there. I just went ahead and booked a hostel because I've never been to a hostel and I wanted to try it out. Like, this was literally my trip of like discovering myself and finding out what I like and don't like. And thank God for this trip because I do not like hostels. I realized I don't like hostel. This hostel that I booked was just errand nonsense. I'm not gonna lie. Like, the first night that I came there, this guy got so drunk that he ended up sleeping in the bathroom. Mind you, the bathroom is like a communal shower. You stand up and you shower. How can you get so drunk that you fall asleep and sleep in the shower to where water is dripping down from the roof and trickling down into where I was sitting down and eating my dinner? I was so disgusted. Mind you, I'm not even an animal person. Like, they had cats roaming up and down everywhere. The floors were moist. You can't even wear shoes inside, which I get because in Asia, a lot of the places you're gonna go to, they require you to not wear shoes inside. But it's just how nasty the floor was. Just thinking about it, I get disgusted. But honestly, Malaysia did have a lot to offer. You can go and see the Twin Towers. You can actually go into the mall. The malls are huge. They have Nando's, guys. I didn't know they had Nando's till I went inside there. And if you know Nando's, Nando's is the toppest 2 restaurants in the world. Like, I love it. It's like a food chain. It's like a McDonald's in South Africa. But honestly, the way I love Nando's, I love Nando's. It was so good. And my roommates were so amazing, honestly. Like, they actually gave me this pass where you can hop on and off of this bus and tour the whole Malaysia. And honestly, I didn't hop off because I was just too lazy for all of that. I sat down the whole way through, but it's a good opportunity to see the whole Malaysia. So I would highly recommend trying that hop on and hop off bus. The whole hostel experience was just really different for me, because imagine coming from a private villa, having your own flower pool, having your own shower and everything, to having to come and share with other people. But whatever, like, the experience was great. I just love that I had the experience under my belt now, and it was a lot cheaper to go the hostel route anyways. Next up, I went to Cambodia, and honestly, this was my least favorite country. I'm not even smiling right now. This was like the bottom of the bottom. It was not too bad, but it was not great. I'm not gonna lie. I got to this Cambodia. When I got there, the first thing the immigration people told me was, you have to pay for your visa with cash. Okay, I went to go and get the cash. Why did they tell me that my cash was old? Which one is old dollar bill, please? Which one is old and new? Can somebody please explain to me? Because I thought that all of them were the same. I got there, I was able to get enough cash to pay for my visa, which was so annoying because I made the huge mistake of not coming with my card, any card of any form, and I only had cash the whole trip. So I'm running low on cash already. Don't be like me, guys. Come with the extra card. I ended up getting enough cash to be able to pay for my visa, and then after that I went into my hostel. Before I even came to Cambodia, I had actually booked with this one guy to pick me up from the airport for $15, but he wasn't accepting Apple Cash because, like I said, I'm running low on cash. I had no choice but to go with my air hostess because he already had my card on file, and it was easy to just, you know, click and he was paid. Why did I get to my hostel and let the guy know that, oh, it wasn't going to work out anymore? Because he kept reaching out to me and I didn't have service. So when I got to my Airbnb, I let him know that, sorry, it wasn't going to work out anymore because I was running low on cash. Why did this guy call me stupid? He called me a time waster. He was like, never you ever reach out to me. I mean, I blocked him, but honestly, I felt bad at the time because I was like, dang, like, and I'm here solo. Like, there's nobody to rant to. There's nobody to, like, lean on, you know, to talk about the situation with. Honestly, that thing made me feel bad, I'm not gonna lie, because it was just like, dang, like, would you have rather me just told you, oh yeah, come and pick me up, knowing that I don't have cash on me? Isn't that better that I canceled on him beforehand? I don't know. That just put a bad taste in my mouth at the beginning of the trip. And then I met this French couple that was my neighbors. They were living upstairs in my Airbnb. They hung out with me the first day, but after the first day, they said no, that they're not gonna hang out with me again. I was like, huh? I get it, they wanted to hang out by themselves. They probably came on a vacation, but hey man, I was on a solo trip. I didn't have anybody else to hang out with or talk to. So yeah, I didn't really have anybody to hang out with after the first day I was in Cambodia, which kind of sucked, but I got to do a lot of activities on my own time anyway. Their food in Cambodia is amazing and it's cheap. I don't know how much to emphasize how good their food was. Like, true to God, if I can go back, I'll go back just for the food. Guys, I was eating full course meals for $4. Like, full on, I'm talking French toast, pineapple fried rice, smoothies, like, $4? Nah. And the food was amazing, impeccable. Oh, they also take dollar bills in Cambodia as well, so you don't have to worry about exchanging, because honestly their exchange rate is kind of, I mean, their currency is kind of like Nigeria. It's very low, so they prefer dollars anyway. The reason why I didn't really like Cambodia is just because I booked this Angkor Wat excursion at 3 a.m. because I wanted to see it when the sun was rising. And first of all, they didn't want to pick me up for my Airbnb. I get it, it wasn't on the main road, but usually I'm used to them picking me up wherever I'm at. No biggie. I ended up paying my host for my Airbnb like $2 to take me to where the location was at, and it turns out that the place was only like 2 minutes away. I'm like, you guys could have picked me up. Anyways, first of all, while we were at the Angkor Wat, our tour guide even left us at one point. Like, me and this girl that were hanging out the whole time, he literally left us and we were lost for like a good 30 minutes. We didn't know where he was. Can you imagine? When the excursion finally ended, it was time to drop me off at my Airbnb. These people were not even trying to help me find that out. They just dropped me in the middle of the road, though. Dropped me and left me. So I now had to try to figure out like where I was and how to get back to my Airbnb. Tell me why, as I was trying to, like, I was already annoyed looking for this Airbnb. This dog from out of nowhere started rushing me. And if you know me, me and dog, we do not mix at all. Like, I don't really like dogs like that. For some reason, they tend to like me, but I personally don't really like dogs. So sorry, I don't. So this dog started rushing me. If you see the way I barked back at this dog, because you're not about to, I was already, imagine already being annoyed and the dog is trying to chase you down. For what, Kwanu? For what? I started barking at the dog, and before you know it, I guess the way I barked at the dog and bucked at the dog made him scared. He ran away. So the owner came out and was like, what's going on? Am I okay? I was like, yeah, that I'm lost. Can you help me find my way? He ended up helping me call my host because for some reason my network wasn't working. I called my host, helped me figure out how to get back to my Airbnb, and then he stayed with me until my host came to pick me up from where I was at and took me back to the Airbnb. That was how I was able to get back to my Airbnb. Oh. If not, these people were gonna leave me for dead in the middle of nowhere. And you know I'm not from here. And I was like, yeah, this Cambodia is not seeing me again. Unless my husband wants to fly me out to Cambodia just to eat, I'm not going back to Cambodia. I went from Cambodia to Vietnam. And Vietnam was also my least two favorites because the weather was terrible. It was so cold. I do not like being cold, and I didn't expect that because you would think that for Asia it would be hot in all the places, but it was actually really cold for me. Thankfully, I brought a jacket from when I first started traveling because at the time it was really cold in Houston. So I was wearing a jacket already, so I didn't have to buy a new jacket. But if you're going to Asia during the time of February and you're planning to go to Vietnam, just keep in mind that it will be cold, like deathly cold. I heard that it snows sometimes, but at the time I went it wasn't snowing and it was just freaking cold. I couldn't bear it. But besides the cold weather, the main reason why I didn't really like Vietnam is because of the stress that I went through to even be able to get there in the first place. Did you guys know that UK citizens can enter Vietnam visa free? Did you know that? Because me, I learned that. I was so upset finding that out because like, why are you making me pay for a visa? With my United States citizenship, like I don't really have to pay for visa with most places. So it just, anyway, it caught me off guard. And the annoying thing is, I don't have a problem paying, but it's just, you have to actually apply for a visa. So back when I was in Malaysia, my hostel mates actually told me that I should apply for a visa to go to Vietnam because you need a visa to enter Vietnam. They told me that it takes at least 6 or 7 working days to even get the visa. And at that time, I only had about 4 working days before I was heading to Vietnam. So they told me, oh, like I shouldn't even bother, that I'm already missed the timeline of like applying for the visa. I was like, no, there's no way. I'll definitely get the visa. Like, you know, I was delusional. I was like, it's gonna work out for me. Like, there's no way they're not gonna accept my thing knowing that I'm going to Vietnam in a couple of days. That was not the case. So my eyes saw, I saw when, as in I saw shege, guys. So I got, like, the day I was leaving Cambodia, I didn't even, like, my visa hadn't even come on time. So I was just like, okay, you know what, I'll get there and I'll get to the front desk and hopefully I'll go there and I'll cry, I'll boo. Like, I wanted to boo-hoo cry for these people though, so that way they'll let me just enter inside the plane. Because at the end of the day, I had the application like number on file, so I was just gonna show them like, hey guys, like I've applied, I paid the $35. When I got to the desk, the guy didn't even look up. He didn't look up at me at all. The guy at the desk that checked your ticket forward, he didn't even look at me. Once I said I didn't have a visa, he was like, no visa, no entry. I said, are you serious? I asked him again, I'm like, sir, please, like, look, I have the number, the application number and everything forward. He didn't want to hear that one. He now said, okay, that if I don't have my visa, I can't come inside. I started scrambling, guys. I was like, what should I do? From Vietnam, I'm supposed to go to Thailand. From Thailand, I'm supposed to go home. Things already connected to each other. Do you get? I had to figure out how I was going to get to this Vietnam, because at one point, I considered going to the Philippines and rerouting my whole trip. By the time I started calculating, I was like, oh, well, this is costing a lot of money. That means I have to buy a new ticket to go from Cambodia to Philippines, from Philippines to Thailand. And then, you know, I also have to pay for a hotel or Airbnb or a hostel in Philippines. So everything was just costing way too much, like way out of my budget. Then I was like, okay, you know what? Why don't I call my host, Airbnb host that's in Vietnam? Let me see if she can call some people that can help me figure out how to get into Vietnam. I started calling. Nobody was answering. All the numbers were not even going through. I still started looking into different countries. I was like, okay, should I go to Hong Kong? I couldn't stay in Cambodia at this point. I was running low on cash. Like, I literally had like about $10 to my name, and that wasn't gonna get me anywhere if I was gonna pay for an extra night in Cambodia to wait for the visa. I'm telling you, I exhausted all my options. After a while, I was like, okay, you know what, let me call my host back, my Vietnam host back, and see if she can call some more numbers or call someone that knows someone that knows someone. I don't know. So I called her again. I was like, can you please like try a different number? She tried, and luckily they answered. The lady was like, oh yeah, she knows me, she's seen my application, that I have to pay $300 to get it expedited. That way I can fly within the next hour. And thankfully I had come to the airport like 5 hours before my flight. I was that ready to leave Cambodia. Like I was sitting waiting for my flight for a good 5 hours. So I had about like an hour and 30 minutes before the flight was supposed to start boarding. So she started processing my visa. Immediately she processed it. She told me like, go show them this at the counter. I don't know, it was in Vietnamese, so I didn't even understand what was on there, but I showed it to the lady. And when I was even showing it to the lady, the person that processed my visa was saying I should keep it on hush hush. I shouldn't tell her how I got this visa. That if they ask me any question, I should just tell them like they should just process my visa. The thing was giving scam vibes though, but I didn't even care. I just wanted to get to the Vietnam and not have to pay an arm and a leg to get to this country, because I already had spent so much on the trip anyway. I went ahead and showed the lady at the counter the visa that I just paid $300 for. Tell me why the lady was like, did you not just come up to this counter and say you don't have your visa? I was like, are you gonna process my visa or not? Like, me too, I have to come with an attitude too, because you're not about to have me stay back here in Cambodia when I don't even have anywhere to stay. I don't have any money again. Honestly, I didn't even have a way to get cash. I was hoping I'd run into someone that would be able to give me some cash. Like, I'll be able to sell them, or they'll be able to give me cash. I don't know. I was just operating this whole trip on faith. So I finally was able to get on the plane. You get to Vietnam, once you get off the plane, you have to go onto a bus, and the bus takes you to the airport. So while I was on that bus, I met this guy. He had an American accent. I was like, oh my god, maybe I should ask him, can I Zelle him or PayPal him? Because I was specifically looking for people from America just because I wanted to be able to Zelle them. So I asked him like, hey, I hope you don't mind, but like, are you from America? He was like, yeah. I was like, oh my god, please, I don't want to be like, I don't want to come up as like strange or anything, but can I please Zelle you so I can get some cash, because I don't have any cash on me. And the guy was like, oh my god, that's totally fine. I was so surprised. You never know, really. You never know, like, you never know until you ask. You have not because you have asked not. I'm so glad I even asked, because I would have been stranded with like $10. I would have been stranded the rest of my trip. I was able to PayPal him, and then he gave me like, I think it was about $200 at that time, and that was how I was able to like finish out the rest of my trip. So we finally made it to immigration, and these people double checked, triple checked my visa. Like I said, guys, I don't even think the thing that I did was legal, but I had to get into this Vietnam. So finally, after triple checking and everything, I was able to get into Vietnam. And then the first day that I was there, not much happened. I actually almost got into a fight with this girl over her boyfriend. I don't know, it was just a whole thing. To cut the long story short, the guy was like basically like trying to introduce himself to me, and then the girl came and saw us talking, and she was like, what's going on here? They ended up fighting each other, and I walked away from that situation. Long story short, first few days I just stayed inside my room. Like I said, it was cold. And then the last day that I was in Vietnam was actually the best day ever. I went to Ninh Bình, and I met the most amazing people. I met this couple from New York and this girl from London. She's actually Jamaican, but she lives in London. And they just made my whole Vietnam trip, honestly. Like, I still talk to them to today. And fun fact, me and the couple from New York actually met up in Bangkok, which was my next destination. Also, Vietnamese food is amazing. Their food is astounding. Like, it was great. The only bad experience I had with food was when I went to one of their restaurants in Vietnam that the couple from New York actually recommended. Tell me why me and the girl from London were ordering food, and the lady said that we're ordering too much. That's okay, we're ordering too much. I said, so you're the one, are you going to be the one to tell me what to order and what I cannot order? Is it not me that's paying? I don't get. I'm talking to the manager, and I was like, I don't really like what she was doing. And the manager was like, oh, she's so sorry, what would we like? I mean, I get it, we were ordering a lot on the menu, but it had been a long day. Like, I don't get, are you supposed to be the one to tell me what to eat? That was the only negative experience I had with the whole food and everything. But besides that, their food was actually really good. Like, everything had such good taste. And do you know how amazing it was to eat pho in Vietnam? Like, you're eating the original food in the country of origin. it was amazing. I wouldn't go to Vietnam again, especially not when it's cold like that. But honestly, if someone wanted to fly me out to Vietnam, I wouldn't say no. The food was amazing. Next up, I went to Thailand, and I wanted to break it up to go to Bangkok and Phuket because there's some certain things I wanted to do in Bangkok and there's certain things I wanted to do in Phuket. So I spent 3 days in Bangkok and 3 days in Phuket. Best decision I ever made. It was amazing. When I got to Bangkok, I actually decided to stay in a hostel again just because it was cheaper than the hotels that I was seeing. Staying in the hostel was actually amazing because I met amazing people from everywhere. Bangkok is actually a really huge city, like New York. It's basically like New York. It's like a very busy city. Lots to do there. But honestly, at some points I was kind of bored because my hostel mates weren't really interactive at this one. I don't know what it was. Everyone was just to themselves. I wasn't really complaining because I kind of wanted to be by myself this trip, but regardless, it was amazing. I met up with the people that I met in Vietnam. We had some drinks. They actually took me through Khao San Road, which is where my hostel was at, but I didn't even know that there was so much to do until they took me there and showed me like what was going on. Guys, there's a lot to do, like street food. I got massages like crazy in Bangkok. They were stretching me in places I didn't even know was stretchable, guys. Get a Thai massage if you're in Thailand. You cannot come to Thailand without getting a Thai massage. Their Thai tea, impeccable. Their pad Thai, impeccable. Like, their food was amazing in Bangkok. And honestly, I would go there 10 times over. It was amazing. I loved it there. For Phuket was... Honestly, if Bali wasn't my dream country, Phuket, Thailand would have been #1 on my ranking. I won't lie to you. I'll explain why. I booked a hostel for Phuket actually because all the hotels for some reason were just mad expensive and mad far from like where most of the tourists was. Most of the time whenever I travel, because I was solo, I like staying in places where most tourists go to or where I know there's going to be a lot of people. It made me feel a lot safer. I booked this hostel called Lubdi Hostel. Oh my god, I highly recommend this hostel, guys. It was beautiful. It was given hostel slash dorm slash hotel. It was very neat. They were very on top of like cleaning and everything. But the reason why I love this hostel is because I met the most amazing people, guys. Like, people are so kind from all over the world. We still talk till today. These guys, we were able to experience the Tiger Park together. We went to Madubwa Cafe, which is where you take pictures and videos with drones, and the videos come out clean. Like, these people know how to take good videos and everything. The food in Phuket was amazing, and it was super cheap to eat the street food. All these high-end restaurants I wouldn't recommend because they'd be taxing and everything, but I highly recommend the street food. It's amazing. I didn't even have to take Imodium, not once. Like, my stomach never turned or anything, not once. It was amazing. I also got a private driver that my friend recommended to me. Let me know if you want his contact. He was amazing. Like, the service was impeccable. His AC was blowing. He was on time. I loved it. Loved Phuket. A major question that people keep asking is, did I feel comfortable as a black person in Asia? And honestly, I did. I felt 100% safe. I felt 100% comfortable. The only time that people really asked to take pictures of me was in Bali and Malaysia, and it wasn't even too crazy because I like being the center of attention. I like taking pictures, so I didn't see it as a bad thing. I was actually impressed that like you wanted to take pictures of me. The only time that I did feel kind of uncomfortable was when this guy was kind of stalking me in Bangkok, but he was also Nigerian, so it wasn't really from like an Asian that I didn't feel racially profiled at all, to be honest, except for like in Cambodia when they dropped me off in the middle of nowhere. But besides that, I felt pretty safe as a black person. I have no complaints in terms of like safety and comfortability. It was actually pretty okay. Now I'm gonna actually rank the countries in terms of like my most fave to my least fave. Of course, Bali is at the top of the list, going 3 for 3. What's the TikTok song? You know this TikTok song I'm talking about. But Bali was #1, followed by Thailand, followed by Dubai, followed by Malaysia, then Singapore, and then Vietnam, and lastly Cambodia. So that was basically like my itinerary for Southeast Asia. It was basically backpacking through those 7 countries. Even though I didn't just carry a backpack, I couldn't do it. But I would highly recommend, if you can go solo traveling, I would highly recommend it. If you can go to Asia though, hey, I would triple recommend it. It was amazing. It was life-changing. This trip to Asia changed my life. I'll see you guys in the next vlog. Let me know in the comment section if you have any questions. I would love, like, I can't emphasize how much I would love to help you answer the questions. The thing about me and traveling are 5 and 6. I could sit down here and talk about traveling for like 10 hours, 10 days non-stop. So please let me know if you have any questions. I wouldn't mind answering you. I would love to help. I don't mind even making a separate video to answer the questions that you have. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share this video. It can help a friend out. Ciao.